Bitcoin breaking out like a mofo on a parabolic rally right now, up almost 3,000 for the day, about to tap 55,000 per coin. Pump the likes to pump the stream. Greatly appreciate that, fam. In today's show, I'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis. And guess what? BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF just broke a whopping $1 billion today in trading volume. Let's go. Also, Bitcoin broke out, hitting a new all-time high in Norway, surpassing 560,000 in their local currency. And quoting the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Kaiser, the fiat money apocalypse is upon us. Bitcoin has no top because fiat money has no bottom. He also calls for 220,000 per Bitcoin in play. Send it. We'll also be discussing MicroStrategy adding an additional 3,000 BTC as Bitcoin ETFs are poised to surpass the gold ETFs. We'll also be discussing Fundstrat's Thomas Lee says the stock market not in a bubble, predicting the Fed won't hesitate to cut the rates. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin ETFs can grow larger than gold ETFs within 2 years, according to the latest from Bloomberg, as well as venture capitalist Dan Tapiero says crypto's in the early stages of the bull market, significant Bitcoin correction, unlikely. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin coming up on the steepest part of the parabolic rally to new all-time high. According to crypto analysts, I'll be sharing his target and his timeline. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. If you're new to the channel, be sure to smash the subscribe button to receive daily premium crypto news alerts every day, just like this. Also, equally important to smash the like, especially if you're getting value out of the show, as it helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. Today is pod episode number 1562. I'm your host, JV. It's February 26, 2024. Another historic day. Bitcoin's up over $3,000 on the daily, up roughly 6%. We're about to tap 55,000 on all the major exchanges, including Coinbase. So let's kick it off actually with our market watch, as we do each and every day. Here's Coin 360, and my apologies. It's you can't see the full screen here. I have to adjust that. But nonetheless, you can see Bitcoin ripping, about to recapture 55,000. We also have Ethereum on the cusp of reclaiming 3,200, the highest Ether price action we have also seen in a very long time. And checking out Coin market cap, you can see the market cap now at 2.08 trillion overall for crypto. Bitcoin's market cap, I heard already, tap 1.1 trillion, and the 24-hour volume is up over 61% at 80 billion, with the Bitcoin dominance at 51.4% and the Ether dominance at 18.4%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers for the past 24 hours, you can see Theta leading the pack, up 22%, Stacks up another 11%, now with over a 4 billion market cap, and VeChain up almost 11%, trading just shy of 5 cents. Below that, we have Akash, Flare, and Gala. Now, which altcoins in particular are you most bullish on, family, during this live stream? Let me know. And during this bull market, and congrats to everyone just subbing to the show. Greatly appreciate you, Jed. Now, let's check out the crypto bubbles to get a visual perspective on the daily. Well, actually, let's start with the monthly. Massive overall monthly gains. WLD up 238%, Stacks 90%, Ajax 170%, Beam 98%, Tau 85%. Pretty impressive. And checking out the daily, still got the majority of the alts back in the green and pumping, with Theta leading the pack, up 22%. And checking out the crypto greed and fear index, we're currently back at a 72 greed. Yesterday 74, last week a 75, and last month a 55 in greed. And checking out the Bitcoin halving countdown, there's only 50 days to go, ladies and gentlemen, until the biggest event that occurs only every 4 years in the crypto sphere, which we call the Bitcoin halving. The estimated halving date set at this time is the 17th of April. Again, only 50 days out. Let's freaking go. And speaking of price action, let's just dive right into today's Bitcoin technical analysis. Check out the charts where the price action is likely to go next. Important to pump the like to help pump the stream, family, especially if you're just joining us. I greatly appreciate that. So yeah, check this out. Crypto Investment products saw inflows totaling roughly 600 million from institutional Bitcoin investment products over the past week. According to CoinShares, crypto ETPs have now witnessed their fourth consecutive week of inflows. As James Butterfield shares here, Bitcoin ETF inflows continue with a further US 598 million last week. That's right. Now, they also published the year-to-date inflows have exceeded 5.7 billion as institutional investors are increasing Bitcoin exposure through the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Quoting Butterfield here, earlier in the week, the total assets under management peaked at 68.3 billion, the highest point since December 2021, although still a way off of 87 billion at the time seen in November of 2021. The data focuses heavily on the heavy buying amid the market recovery driven by the ETF demand. Institutions deposited nearly 600 million into crypto products offered by BlackRock, ARK Invest, Grayscale, Bitwise, ProShares, Fidelity, and 21 shares between February 19th and the 23rd before the outflows briefly slowed towards the end of the week. Now, the Bitcoin fund saw the largest inflows for any crypto with approximately 570 million, representing 95% of the flow, and second posting 16.8 million. That was ETH, and then Litecoin and Ripple XRP with 1 million and 1.1 million. Solana bucked the overall trend, posting 3 million in outflows due to the recent outages, which may have possibly impacted the sentiment around the one-layer token, according to CoinShares. Now, in line with digital asset investment products witnessing increased inflows last week, they also highlighted that the current higher cost spot issuers in the US saw massive inflows, particularly into the new spot Bitcoin ETF issuers. Inflows into US-based crypto products were 609 million, notwithstanding 436 million worth of outflows from Grayscale. Now, Brazil and Switzerland registered minor inflow of 8.2 million and 2.1 million, respectively, while the Canadian market witnessed the largest outflows from the digital asset investment products, shedding almost 18 million, followed by Sweden with 8 million in outflows. Now, regarding price action, Bitcoin, it's been on a tear. We had a consecutive number of green candles on the hourly chart. I was just looking at it. There were 7 continuous and some pretty major, hence why we're currently on the cusp of reclaiming $55,000. Now, not too shabby considering where we took off at the beginning of last year when we were at roughly 16,000. You know what I mean? That was around, the time of the bottom. I think we bottomed at 15.8-ish when we started the year off. We had the regional banking crisis, and it's been a wrap since the ETFs have taken place and the hype surrounding them via, BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink calling it a flight, to safety and all that good stuff, or a flight to quality. It's been taken off. And as you can see here, BlackRock's ETF just broke $1 billion worth of trading volume in a single day. These are pretty impressive numbers, family. And I think these inflows are only going to continue to increase, and we're going to have a supply shock as there's a Bitcoin halving in roughly 50 days. So run the math. When the actual supply gets cut in half and the demand continues, can you say supply shortage, supply shock? Now, you can also notice Bitcoin hitting all-time highs in different countries and different currencies around the world, including Norway, where it surpassed 560,216 and now up over roughly 20 million% all time. And we just getting this party started, family. And quoting the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Kaiser, the fiat money apocalypse is upon us. Bitcoin has no top because fiat money has no bottom, which ultimately means that the purchasing power of the dollar is mathematically guaranteed to decrease as they continue to print, and the purchasing power of Bitcoin, as you can see, is mathematically guaranteed to continue to pump. And he also says 220,000 in play as a reminder. So there you have it. My crypto fam, Lock Sky, greatly appreciate your giving. Just gifted 5 memberships to the MicroStrategy membership to ours have Expos, John, Duffy Newman, Beers and Babes, great username, and D. Clark, congratulations, you are now officially members of the channel. You can thank Lock Sky for hooking you guys up. That's fantastic. Thank you. Wow, and Lock blessed you guys with another 5 memberships. He just wants to bless everyone today. Gotta love it, man. So congratulations, all the new members of the channel that just got hooked up. from Lock Sky. Chum, what it do? Going to the moon. A rising tide lifts all boats, 100%. Thanks anyways, Loke, says DNA. Congratulations, Alan Haley. You have been blessed. Stephen Huffer, you have been blessed. JT, you have been blessed. Tobias has been blessed. Anthony Pena, you have been blessed. Welcome all the new members of the channel. We greatly appreciate the support. Massive shout out to Lock Sky. Show him some serious love. Let's freaking go. This is the #1 daily Bitcoin pod because you guys are the #1 audience. Greatly appreciate y'all.
I'm not saying I'm #1. I'm
sorry, I lied.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best.
I'm #1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Tell them. But let's dive into our next story of the day and discuss MicroStrategy purchasing yet another 3,000 Bitcoin for the balance sheet. History in the making. Here we go. Check it out. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 3,000 biddies for a total of $155 million at an average price of $51,800 between February 15th and the 25th. Let me shrink this so you can see better. Let me know if that's better for you guys. Now, this brings the company's Bitcoin holdings to 193,000 Bitcoin, acquired for $6 billion at an average price of $31,500, according to a post by Michael Saylor on February 26. According to GigaChat here, MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 3,000 Bitcoin for $155 million at an average price of $51,800 per Bitcoin. As of February 25th, MicroStrategy now hodls 193,000 Bitcoin, acquired for just over $6 billion at an average price of $31,500. Shout out to Saylor, man. There's no one else like him. The announcement of the purchase came as MicroStrategy's account was hacked on X. Oh no. The hacker posted a series of malicious links to fake token airdrops, seeking to steal the user funds. The fraudulent announcement led to over $440,000 worth being stolen, according to a synonymous on-chain investigator, Zach XBT. What a shame, man. These scammers and spammers, man, it's just insane. MicroStrategy's latest Bitcoin acquisition follows promising predictions from senior Bloomberg analysts who foresees the Bitcoin ETFs potentially overtaking the gold ETFs and assets under management within the next 2 years. Sharing this tweet from Eric Balchunas, basically says, new from me on how gold being in the gutter is likely the cherry on the top for Bitcoin fans who just got to witness the biggest ETF launch ever. Decent chance Bitcoin ETFs pass gold ETFs and assets under management in less than 2 years. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the analyst. And he also says the Bitcoin ETFs, though barely 6 weeks old, have taken in over 8 billion more than gold peers, already have 40% as much in assets, and could pass them in size in less than 2 years. Let me know if you think that will likely come to fruition. And while Bitcoin ETFs have absorbed over 5 billion in net assets since launching, gold ETFs amassed 3.6 billion during the same period. The gold ETFs could potentially struggle to keep their 90 billion in assets due to the gold price performance, noted Balchunas and Yap in the report. Gold prices are now down. Take that, Peter Schiff, in the past 24 hours to 2,000 per ounce, according to the latest statistics. Shout out to Barack Munfils Evangelista. We greatly appreciate the super. He wrote, I went bear hunting this morning. We're pumping today. Love collecting bear-skinned rugs. Let's go. Greatly appreciate all your support, family. Now, yeah, on February 20th, MicroStrategy's Saylor said he would be buying Bitcoin forever, adding he has no plans to sell the asset that is technically superior to gold, real estate, and the S&P. Quoting him here, Bitcoin is technically superior to those asset classes. And that being the case, there is just no reason to sell the winner to buy the losers. And I think he makes a fantastic point right there. And quoting Preston Pish, the MicroStrategy treasury now has 193,000 Bitcoin, jumped in fiat value by 470 million in just the past 5 hours. So next level. If the software business makes 75 million per year, that means 6.3 years worth of work by the entire company was potentially captured in 5 hours. Things are getting to get spicy out here. Spicy pepper, jalapeno. Let's go. So you already know, family, things are getting pretty lit. Thank you, Facts, RIP Bears, again and again. For good this time, please. You might not be tired of being wrong, but we're sick of hearing it. Rest in peace. Shout out, Facts. Well said, brother. Greatly appreciate all your support too. And with that being shared, let's discuss the stock crashing. That's right. Fundstrat's Tom Lee says stock market is not in a bubble and predicts the Fed won't hesitate to cut the rates. So here's the latest from Tom Lee. The head of research at market intelligence firm Fundstrat says the stock market most likely has more room to run to the upside. That's right. In a new interview with CNBC, he says it's too early to say the stock market's in a bubble as there is no consensus yet that we aren't in one. Quoting him here, I don't think we'll have a bubble until the consensus declares there is no bubble and there is no risk. And that's when we're likely in a bubble. But I think a lot of folks raising the prospect that this is a bubble means still early. According to Lee, if the Fed doesn't cut the rates, it would pose a threat to the stock market's strength. However, he also says there's a higher than expected chance we'll see a rate cut as soon as March. Quoting him again, if the Fed doesn't cut, I think it would pose quite a lot of risk for the stock market. I don't think the Fed is going to hesitate just because the stock market has risen. The Fed's policy rate of close to 5.5% is the highest policy rate in the world for any developed country. I think the bond market itself is telling us that the Fed is overly restrictive right now. I think the probability of cutting in March is higher than what's being priced in, and a lot of it will depend on what February CPI looks like, which comes out March 12th, couple of weeks, family. But we think there are some anomalies in the January CPI, including poor seasonal adjustment. If those start to show improvements, I think whatever sort of hot CPI we saw in January, the repricing reverses to a large extent. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that sentiment from Tom Lee. And I am also curious how many of you are actually invested in stocks. Yesterday, we discussed some of the Bitcoin mining stocks, which have been on a tear of recent. So I'm curious, please let me know. But continue, everyone joining us. I appreciate it. But let's speak about these Bitcoin ETFs, shall we? Still got a lot to share with you guys. The headline reads, Bitcoin ETFs can grow larger than the gold ETFs within the next 2 years, according to Bloomberg. That's right. In a post on Monday, Eric Balchunas outlined how gold ETFs have been gutted in the recent weeks, precisely as the Bitcoin ETFs absorbed over $5 billion worth of inflows following their launch last month, the official launch date being January 11th. In a note co-authored with Andre Yap of Bloomberg Intelligence, they wrote here, the Bitcoin ETFs, though barely 6 weeks old, have taken in over $8 billion more than the gold peers, already have 40% as much in assets, and could pass them in size in less than 2 years. And according to BitMEX research, Bitcoin ETFs held $37 billion in assets as of Friday. By comparison, data from VetaFi shows that the gold ETF had roughly $88 billion, most of which is held by SPDR Gold Shares Fund. Now, gold funds have suffered $3.6 billion of net outflows since January 11th. Poor gold bugs. Balchunas believes that very little of those funds likely flow directly into the new Bitcoin spot ETFs, but that the mere existence of the investment products is likely creating competition for the precious metals at large. Quoting him again, gold ETFs can struggle to keep their $90 billion in assets partly due to performance, and the metals price per ounce has stayed roughly flat at $2,000 for a month, while Bitcoin has surged almost 30% over the same time frame. Peter Schiff, that means if you would have capitulated even a month ago, you'd be up 30% in 30 days. Meanwhile, you've been stuck at $2,000 per ounce in gold for decades. And I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. What do you guys think, fam? Now, on Monday, the latter tapped another 2-year high of 53,500 per coin. In fact, we already touched roughly 55,000, family. So we're continuing to pump. And the ETF inflows have began slowing recently, with analysts suspecting the new funds could drive Bitcoin over 150,000 within the next 12 to 24 months. Easy peasy. This would naturally increase assets under management of existing Bitcoin sitting in the ETFs, controlled by BlackRock and Fidelity, possibly making Bitcoin the largest ETF commodity. Well, that's a given, just a matter of time. And regarding Bitcoin's success against gold, here's what Balchunas shared. BlackRock probably not as amused by this as everyone else, since they have IAU and make 25 BPS on 25 billion in assets under management equals big revenue generator. For them, although net, they are still winning here big time and will over time. Bitcoin is often likened to gold as a hedge against monetary debasement due to the difficulty increasing of the supply of either asset. I mean, it is the scarcest asset in the world. Bitcoin, because of the finite limited supply, you can say that gold is relatively scarce, but they dump a new amount of the supply into the market every year, and it helps suppress the price. Also, the major banks like JP Morgan Chase have been fined north of $900 million for spoofing, which means manipulating precious metal markets, because this is what they do. They don't want gold price to reach escape velocity, because then everyone invested in US dollars, which is most of the people in the United States with their money sitting in the bank, there would be a basically, what's the word, where a bank run. Everyone would pull their money out of the bank and put it in gold. And they don't want that bank run to happen, so they suppress the gold price. But with Bitcoin, on the other hand, hey, different story. So let's go. So yeah, as it reads here, the venture capitalist Dan Tapiero says crypto in the early stages of the bull market, significant Bitcoin correction. Unlikely. I like that. Macro investor Dan Tapiero says digital assets are in the early stages and that a deep correction for Bitcoin is very unlikely. In a new update he shared, the CEO of investment firm 10T Holdings tells Skybridge Capital founder The Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, that he doesn't envision Bitcoin dipping to 20,000 ever again. Well, I think we can all agree on that. However, he notes there could be a short-term correction for Bitcoin. He says, so if they're saying, I do think we're going back down to 20,018 lows in Bitcoin, but I don't see it at all. I think we're in the second inning of this bull market. So I'd be much more concerned and think that there could be problems potentially if I felt we're in the seventh inning, the eighth inning. The bullish consensus is 75 to 80%. I mean, that's an issue, but maybe it just means you have a short-term correction. We're just getting started here. So according to Tapiero, the future for Bitcoin and digital assets appears bright as 2022 held nearly every bad scenario possible for the industry. Preach. Such as the multi-billion-dollar collapse of FTX. Quoting him again, markets are discounting mechanisms, and I think that all the bad news that you could possibly have ever dreamed up happened in 2022. And I think you had a low in Q4 that was relatively obvious. So I do think there's another FTX out there. He asked, no. I'm seeing a lot of really interesting information from companies, and anyone that was having difficulty now is not. And we are just seeing that 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Good point. And watch the interview he did with the Mooch, Tapiero. Check the show notes below the video in the description. But anyways, family, we still got a lot to share. We just discussed the latest with the bull run. Now, for our featured story of the day, but a quick shout out to Steven Diaz. He just sent us a super, says Bitcoin will not see below 30,000, or so I believe. Bitcoin is here to stay, family. I'll buy the top and the bottom. Love it, Steven Diaz, and thank you so much for your kindness. But now, for our feature story of the day, let's discuss Bitcoin continuing on this parabolic rally and tapping $143,000 per coin. Let's freaking go. That's right. The headline reads, Bitcoin coming up on the steepest part of the parabolic rally to new all-time high. Here's the targets from Kevin Svensson talking about Bitcoin skyrocketing, family. According to the analyst, Bitcoin appears to be in a base 3 of the pattern, putting Bitcoin in a position to witness massive gains in a steep upwards move. Send it. Quoting him here, I think this is as clear as day. We are currently coming up on the steeper portion of the parabolic trend, which is where base 3 is in the diagram when it gets really steep. Here we are now, guys. It's getting pretty steep. What's going to happen next? How high are we going to go? The textbooks suggest that after base 3, you can get a double in price. 45,000 times 2 is a target of a parabola. 90,000 per Bitcoin would be the target according to the textbook. So there you have it, family. Do you think Bitcoin price action can likely double? Just like that, tapping 90,000 per coin, sending us to price discovery. And you can see base 1, base 2, base 3, where we're at. And it shows us going to base 4 and then eventually to a sell point, according to the analyst. So based on the textbook diagram, the asset is trading at base 3 of the parabolic uptrend, which can double in price in a very short period of time. Let's not forget 50 more days to Bitcoin halving 2024, family. The analyst also notes that Bitcoin tends to witness bull markets when the global liquidity or the amount of money sloshing around in the world financial system is back on the rise. And according to the analyst, Bitcoin is currently rising despite the falling global liquidity levels, suggesting that Bitcoin can go a lot higher than the crowd expectations if liquidity starts to pick up. Quoting him again, in these past cycles, Bitcoin is trending up alongside the global liquidity. Now we are trending up against the liquidity cycle. So if the liquidity cycle turns around in our favor, that's sort of a double whammy. Bitcoin is diverging away from the global liquidity and is a positive winner. We have the ETF approval. The halving is coming up. got 50 days. There's a lot of really good things here for Bitcoin and crypto. So I'm keeping my mind open to the idea that the unexpected is always likely in this market. The estimated peak value I have is $142,500 per coin. So there you have it, crypto fam. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the crypto analyst that short term, any day soon, we can see Bitcoin virtually double, tap over $90,000 per coin, and then eventually hit a peak of $142,500. Here's JV's personal prediction I'm sticking with, as I've been proclaiming virtually every day here on the channel. Now, I believe Bitcoin will likely top out this cycle peak in next year, 2025, with my bearish scenario at 222,000 per coin and my bull scenario at 500,000 per coin, which would ultimately mean if we hit the bear scenario, we're going to rise roughly, what is that, 4x from here? 50,000 times 4, 200,000-ish level. And if we were to hit the bull scenario, that's adding basically a 10x instead of a 4x. We're basically adding a 0 to the end of today's price action, and we're rising above 500,000 per coin. Now, the first person I heard to make the 500,000 price prediction was probably back in 2017. The Winklevoss twins, they actually published a report, and it was called, Bitcoin overtaking gold or something along these lines. And they projected that by the time Bitcoin overtakes the gold market cap, which at the time was sitting at roughly 10 or 11 trillion. Today, it's maybe even higher, maybe 14 trillion. They projected at that time, Bitcoin will be over 500,000 per coin. I think the title now was The Case for the $500,000 Bitcoin. Since then, we've also had Kathy Wood of ARK Invest predicting her scenario, her base case, her bull case, and her bull case she has raised now that the ETF inflows have been taken over like crazy. She's projecting we can see as high as 2.3 million per coin by the year 2030. We also have the billionaire venture capitalist Tim Draper, who is predicting $250,000 per coin for quite some time now. He's doubling down that it could happen still this year. Emilio Gonzalez, greatly appreciate the super family, says Orange Pill Mofos end of the year at 300,000 easy. So there you go, $300,000 Bitcoin. Let me know if you agree or disagree. We also have the high priest of Bitcoin, the one and only Max Kaiser we shared earlier in the intro and earlier on in the show, projecting 220,000 per Bitcoin in play, saying fiat has no bottom, and so therefore Bitcoin has no top. There's also other very bullish scenarios we've been covering. I think yesterday in the show, we discussed Dan Moorhead of Pantera Capital, also projecting six-figure Bitcoin price. Also, Anthony Scaramucci on a bull scenario, predicting a 400,000 Bitcoin price for this cycle. And also, I believe for this year, I think he said 180,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. We also have Tom Lee from Fundstrat. We have Bobby Lee. These are all people projecting six-figure price predictions. But I want to know your thought as we continue to pump it up, family. You already know Bitcoin hovering above 54,700 right now on Coinbase. We already tapped roughly 55,000, $20 short. Can a brother, round up a little? Let me know. But I'm pretty stoked. If you can't tell, let me know if you can feel the vibe in the air as we continue to pump.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up.
We love the Bitcoin. Facts. $1 Million bitch, y'all. Wow. Fresh just hooked it up with a $100 super legendary. Shout out Fresh6. Greatly appreciate it. Pamp it. Thanks for all you do, JV. Much love, much respect. Greatly appreciate that, family.
Don't you know?
Pump it up. You got to pump it up.